Welcome back to the Motivating Force podcast. I'm Josue, an aspiring Marine Corps officer who's going through ROTC, and I'm also finishing up my bachelor's in criminal justice. This is Justin, a motivational speaker who's always excited to share our topics with all of our wonderful listeners.
Christmas is done. We are moving forward to the last and final stretch of, well, probably till the end of the world, it seems like. But with the New Year's comes New Year's resolutions. Here at the Motivating Force, we're all about you making your life better. So we're going to be talking about how to make and set resolutions that will last you more than a week or two.
Yeah, because actually completing these New Year's resolutions is more important than just making them. You can have one New Year's resolution and actually fulfill it all the way through the year, and that's going to mean more than having 20 New Year's resolutions on January 1st and completing none of them.
Yeah, jumping right into it, man. That first point is real crucial. We need to make sure that we set our resolutions based off of a thing called reality.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know what reality is, especially coming from COVID in 2020.
Yeah, it is a crazy times, man. But people think that, next year, they haven't ran at all. So next year, I'm going to make a really simple goal. We're going to do 500 miles next year.
Yeah. Or we're going to run a triathlon by June.
Yes. And even for people who have never ran, try running a triathlon by the end of the year. Train all year for it. Let me know how that goes for you. But don't do that because you'll never complete it, which is what we're here to talk about today.
So jumping into the main point here, I wanted to say a quote that I heard from our own Justin here, and it sounds a little bit less egotistical when I'm the one that says it instead of you, but it's, plans are nothing more than dreams that are actually written down.
100% what I said. That definitely was an adaptation, though. I have no idea where I got it from because I watch way too many motivational videos for my own good, but it's out there.
Okay, then never mind. Not his quote.
Close enough to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but main point here is plans are nothing more than dreams actually written down. What we're talking about today is how to set these goals properly, and that's going to be through writing them down.
Yeah, writing down your goals is a very crucial process, or it's a very crucial step in this achievement process, because you can say all day long that you want to go run a marathon, right? Or that you want to live a structured life, or you want to start meal planning. You can say all these different things, but once you write it down, then it's set in stone. That's the first step. That's showing initiative right there.
Yeah, and especially if you do have some of these more wild goals for yourself where you're going to make some really life-altering decisions coming up this New Year's. And there's some really fundamental things that you can do to try to help make these more of a reality. I was reading an article off of Forbes, and it said that people who write down their goals, here's the important part, vividly, or even with pictures or graphics, doodles on the side of it, right? They're 20 to 40% more likely to accomplish those goals than people who just write them down.
So when you say vividly, it's just that it pops at you? Or explain that, because I had a point for this, that it's to place these notes or these plans that you have in places that you can see them. So just because you write it down or whatever, write it down in notes on your phone, but then you're going to forget about it because then you're just going to close the app and never open it up again.
Yeah.
All right. So I was going along the lines of my point being, write it down on notes, take a screenshot of it, and make it your screensaver.
You're talking about some of the art of repetition here, some of that manifestation.
Yeah, you're always going to look at your phone. So every time you open your phone, check the time or whatever, you're going to see those goals that you wrote down in the background, and it's probably going to motivate you to do it even more.
Yeah, it's like having that, nagging partner always constantly telling you, do this, do this, do this. And as much as you hate to admit it, you get those things done, don't you?
And there you go. All you got to do is place it where you can see it. So even if it's on the refrigerator door. Don't place it at the bottom of the refrigerator. Put it on the freezer. If you have a freezer up top, put the piece of paper or the sticky note right at eye level. Just always make eye contact with that note that you're setting for yourself. That was the point I wanted to drive home when talking about vividly.
Yeah, that's good, man. The power of manifestation is a real thing, and it helps a lot of people. But the point that I'm getting at here, we're talking about part of the encoding process, and we're talking about the generation process. Okay. And the generation process, I'm not talking about all of us boomers, zoomers, and millennials out there, right? What I'm talking about is your actual generation of thoughts. You're generating these things, right? And what happens in the term that they use for vividly is because you have to create steps to achieve those goals. And especially if we're talking about, say, I want to run 500 miles this year.
Yeah.
And you write that down on a piece of paper and you stick it on a wall and you skip a day, you're going to be like, no big deal. I can make that up. Until you take it even just one little step further and you realize how much running you have to do to run 500 miles in a year.
Yeah.
And you skip one day, now you're adding an extra 1.5 miles to the next day, which is doubling your time. And it's just this constant snowball effect that very quickly can make your goals become literally impossible.
Yeah. So what you're saying, to make it easier too, when you're making this list of goals that you want to achieve, narrow down on the individual goal one at a time and write down the steps to get there as well.
Yes.
Like if you say, I want to run 500 miles, right? Or whatever, realistic. Then you break down the week. Every day or Monday through Friday, you're going to take 2 days off or however you want your daily routine. We talked about this before. Time management on the individual, what you feel best suits you. But that running schedule that you set aside for yourself, you put down how many miles you're going to run each day instead of just writing down the overall goal of running 500 miles.
Yeah, exactly. And it gets more intense the more intense of a lifestyle change you're trying to make. With all that running, you're obviously going to have to make probably some dietary changes. You're going to have to be drinking a lot more water. You're going to have to be taking in a lot more protein and potassium.
Yeah.
Keep those muscles hydrated and pumping, right? So there's all these different things you have to think about. And when you're creating this goal and this vision for yourself, you can accomplish them, but there is time that has to be implemented in making those dreams become a reality. We spend so much time thinking about all these grand things we want to do, and it's a beautiful thing and it's great. But when you can do that effectively and you start breaking down these little chunks in your goal-making mentality, man, you can see some major improvements in your life. But now I'm going to kind of take a step back from that because we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here on staying motivated and keeping you guys going, right? I'm going to try to put this into some realistic perspectives when I thought about it as far as goal creation when we come to writing it down. And if you can't tell, that's my whole theme with this. This is my whole point. If you want to accomplish a goal, you have to write it down. There's 1,000,001 ways that people will tell you how to accomplish your goals and things you can do for it, and all these crazy things about waking up at 4:30 in the morning and taking cold showers and all these like really weird things. And all I'm asking you to do is spend some time methodically writing down your goal. I think that's a little more realistic for everybody than waking up at 4:30 in the morning and hopping in a cold shower.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it multiple times in this podcast that it doesn't matter what time you wake up in the morning. What matters is how efficient are you with the time that you give yourself.
Yeah.
So waking up at 4:30 in the morning, we're not going to tell everybody to do that. You probably have a job that you're working overnights. You're getting home or you're probably still at work at 4:30 in the morning. You need to sleep. So it's just adjusting your time wisely, but also planning out, like you're saying, that first step, huge step in this process is writing down those goals.
Yeah. Yeah. When we focus on that, we get to accurately mark down our progress as well. Because when we have this giant goal, you either hit it or you don't. So do you want to land among the stars or do you want to be the star, right? That's kind of the old cliche goes.
Yeah.
And when you create these little milestones that help get you to that goal, like little, even insignificant things that really isn't even an accomplishment, but it's a step forward, write it down, add it to your list, because the more you check mark off, the more you're going to have that visual connection and realize that you are actually getting closer to achieving that goal.
Yeah. And another point that I kind of wanted to bounce off of that is that you shouldn't really care about impressing other people with these New Year's resolutions, because I know that's a big thing. Like in the workplace, you'll have people, oh, what's your New Year's resolution? What are you going to do? And then you have the typical, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to work out. That's why we keep leaning into this. But don't give yourself such drastic goals. Give yourself realistic goals. Even have smoother transitions. So it doesn't even have to be something that seems like a big thing. Even if you just go, oh, I want to cut out bread 5 days out of my week. That's going to make it so much easier for you to achieve it. And then what do you do once you achieve that? You make another goal. And then you start slowly transitioning into that overall structured life that you planned for your 2021.
Yeah, and I like that a lot, because what I'm getting from that message is, if you are only spending the last 2 weeks of December and the first 2 weeks of January figuring out and making these goals to help improve your life, what are you doing for the other 11 months?
Yeah.
Because when you accomplish goals, set new ones, keep moving forward, right? Don't sit there and make goals now and then think you have all year to complete them. Don't do that to yourself. You are capable of so much more growth than just that, And
I really love that you're bringing the point down to, what are you doing those last 2 weeks, or that last week that we're coming up on of 2020. And my point that I really want to stress on this overall episode is not only the importance of writing things down, but it's the importance of doing things now, taking action on the things you've written down. So once you've already passed that first step of writing things down, what are you going to do? Just keep looking at it? No. Don't go, oh, I have to wait till January 1st. There's no starting line for these New Year's resolutions. You're just wasting time until then. I have this old Chinese proverb here. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Don't wait a week. Don't wait a month. Don't wait a year. Just plant the tree now. You set the goals. You already wrote them down. You know what you want to achieve. Act upon it. For example, this podcast wouldn't be here if it wasn't for this same idea that I'm preaching. How long was it that you were thinking about starting up a podcast even by yourself?
Oh, man. I would want to say 6 months before we actually started was when I got the idea to do it by myself.
You see, and I was doing the same thing on my end when I wanted to start like this gaming podcast or this entertainment podcast with another friend of mine who, shout out again, Taekwondo on Twitch, joined the dojo, super fun guy, really motivational and an inspirational character. Let's go back. So I was doing the same thing that I just kept procrastinating things. It got to the point where he ended up just having a kid because we were taking too long. That's the whole reason he had a kid. No, I'm kidding.
That's a lot to do with some downtime, man.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if I want to do this. I'm going to go have a kid in the meantime.
I'm just going to go waste 18 years. I'm kidding. Stop. But the point I'm trying to make, like, I came in one day, we just kept talking about it. I'm like, no, let's just do this. We're not famous or anything. We want to have this conversation for our own benefit to help us grow. It's going to help other people who listen. Why can't we just start it now?
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen the progress, or you've heard the progress, because the first couple episodes aren't even on video. But the initial act that we took it and ran.
Yeah, and it was literally that act of now, where it was, our first episode that we ever recorded, we had no idea what we were doing. We used one mic in the center of the room, thinking it'd be okay to talk from 4 feet away, and proved ourselves 100% wrong.
Yeah.
And then we went to just doing audio, just now getting on video. Like, when you have these goals, you're going to have setbacks, you're going to have struggles, you're going to probably have some learning curves to go through, and maybe not even like educationally, but just with yourself, learning more about yourself and how you're going to respond to these things that you're trying to change. And the easiest way to do it is to just start doing it.
It's really easy and it's very simple to really want something, but just keep pushing it off.
Yeah.
Especially now that I'm familiar with being a procrastinator in high school and college, whatever. You know, I can procrastinate on many things. It's super easy to just go, let's set it aside another day. Let me do this in an hour. You know, even if you really want it.
And isn't that amazing too? Because now you got me thinking, right? People always love to use excuses to prevent themselves from accomplishing their goals. And they think that those excuses justify their actions against bettering their lives. Okay? So with that mindset, and you're talking about the podcast here, keeping it really personal with us, I was just thinking, imagine if we kept using those excuses, right? Yeah. Well, you can't have a podcast if you don't have decent enough audio equipment. And you can't have a podcast. I mean, why are you going to be on YouTube if you're not going to be on video, right?
Yeah.
That means we would have started our podcast like last month.
Yep.
That's kind of crazy to think about, isn't it?
But on top of that, the motivation to get the cameras was rooted in the beginning couple episodes.
Yeah.
So after seeing how like the results were with that and how we've constantly been growing ever since, the motivation was sparked after we already made the podcast to go, wait, why aren't we being smarter about this and get the cameras for YouTube?
Yeah. Don't focus on those excuses you can make for yourself. Because when you start doing it now, those excuses that are a reality just turn into problems for you to solve.
Yeah. And a big excuse that a lot of people use, right? And I think I just mentioned this before, is that people always wait for that perfect timing. People say, oh, well, it's not the right time for this. Or I'm going to put that off for a month because now it's just not the right time for me to make that kind of move. Or I can't make a workout. Like I can't go to the gym because I don't have time for that. You know, you can still work out. The perfect time for anything is right now. Yeah. What's really the excuse? You're interfering in your own plans and you're stopping yourself from succeeding in these goals that you're trying to make for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, like I was saying before, there's no starting line for New Year's resolutions at 11:59 seconds, and you're just like waiting for that ball to drop, and as soon as then the races are off. Then you start going to the gym. Then that's when you make the gym membership.
That's when you start smashing the rest of the beer bottles that are left at the party, and you're like, I said we're not drinking this year, and like
yeah, that's funny. I would never waste alcohol like that.
We are against abuse of alcohol, called Don't Break the Bottles That Are Still Full.
Don't break the bottles. That'll just be nice decor in the background. But the whole point that I'm trying to make is you're setting these routines up now. If you saw that bonus episode that we gave you right before the Christmas special, where one of those the gift ideas that you should give yourself is to make a daily routine, you jumped the gun. You know, you're 2 weeks ahead. If that's part of your New Year's resolution, you should have already started that. You made that routine already. Act on it. Just keep it going.
Yeah.
And then that routine's going to get better and better as the year goes, because then it's going to be second nature. You're going to want to wake up and make the bed. You're going to want to wake up, go brush your teeth.
Yeah. Keep up on that hygiene we talked about.
Yeah. Even having time to make breakfast. I used to struggle. I used to go to work and spend like hours until lunchtime without eating because I was just waking up and then just running out the door. You know? Now I've structured my daily routine that I'm able to wake up with enough time to cook myself some breakfast, not be hungry at work and be miserable. It's important that you've already made that jump. You made that daily routine for yourself, and it's going to help you with that structured lifestyle that we're trying to preach.
Yeah. And it's funny too, being a little personal here. I mean, we all know that my biggest setback towards being the motivational speaker and leader that I am, trying to live that life and be that proof of it, right? Not trying to be hypocritical. The hardest thing I struggle with is waking up on time, right? I'm such a heavy sleeper that I should know better than to, and again, it's not even about waking up early, but just waking up on time. It's hard for me, right? So I actually play this gambling game with my breakfast routine where I go the night before and I'm like, look, man, I tell myself this before I go to bed. I go, if you wake up late, you won't have time to make breakfast and you're going to go to work and you're going to be hungry, because when I make breakfast, I make pretty much twice as much and then bring that second portion for lunch.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I don't wake up on time, just 10 minutes. It's just 10 minutes, right? If I can't wake up then, I miss breakfast and lunch. I won't get to eat till dinner time.
Yeah.
Do you know how many days I go hungry? Way too many.
But you see, that used to be me, because now I have fail safes where I give myself such a bigger window, because I know I'm a heavy sleeper as well, that if I don't wake up on the first alarm, I just have to rush a little bit more, but I can still have time for breakfast. Instead of cooking like eggs and bacon, just pour some cereal in a bowl, put some milk, dip, But another point that I wanted to get on, since I'm sure everybody understands that one, just start it now. But just starting it now sounds a lot like just do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Nike, they wouldn't be such a big, gigantic company as they are if they didn't understand that as well. They made it into a slogan, just do it. And that wasn't just a slogan that they made with the sole purpose of being a Shia LaBeouf meme. See what I did there with?
That's exactly what, when you said
sole
that,
purpose.
man, that's exactly what I thought about was
just do it. Yeah, with the braid going down.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they're known all over the world. Every nook and cranny of the world knows what Nike is.
Yeah.
Because they understand the power of just doing what you're writing down. There's no excuses for it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Do it now. What's stopping you other than yourself being lazy?
Yeah. And I mean, hey, that's a great point, because when we want to talk about time structures, there is, I mean, if you go up to any millionaire, right? Any successful person, whatever you deem as successful, somebody you want to be like, right? And you ask them like, hey man, when did this journey start? And they'll sit there and they'll give you a story, right? And you're going to be like listening and you're going to be like, okay, this is good information. Like I'm understanding how to start this process. And you go, well, so did you start that on a Monday, or did you start that on the first of the month? Which one kind of worked better for you?
Yeah. And he says, I started it the moment I thought about it.
Yeah. Or even better yet, they're going to be like, I don't know. I don't remember. Because I couldn't tell you when we put this plan into action, I couldn't tell you the day we started doing the podcasting. That is such minute details. It's so non-important details. We just want to give ourselves that little bit of time, so we use that excuse. But the day it starts means nothing towards the success that you can accomplish.
Oof, that's a big one, dude. It's very important to write down these goals. I'm not saying it's not. Your point is incredibly important on this New Year's resolutions or just overall goal achieving process, but taking that first step on the treadmill, the first call to action, the first day you wake up and make your bed instead of rushing out the door like I did, the first meal you actually cook at home instead of going out and wasting money on fast food, and you're actually eating healthy because of it, that's when you're actually going to start to see the results come to light. It's going to help you feel 1,000 times better when you're actually taking that first step. Because once you see that it's possible, instead of thinking that it's this like scary thing that's unachievable goal that you set for yourself, once you see that running 300 miles is almost a mile a day, it's going to feel a lot better than thinking of just that big number.
Yeah, it's great, man. Do you know the story behind making your bed? Why that is such an important thing?
Well, I got the concept of making the bed from this, I believe it was a Navy SEAL commencement speech. Navy SEAL officer doing a commencement speech, I think in Texas. And it stuck with me. And explain it for everybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about and just mumbling on.
Gotcha. Yeah, man. So we kind of stumbled across the same information there. The whole point, and the gentleman's name right here, We'll put it up on the screen for you guys. Nice and easy. During his commencement speech, and he's talking about when you make your bed every day. And the whole point goes back to some really simple principles, because everything about this is really simple. And that's an object in motion stays in motion. If you start your day off completing tasks, you're going to be more apt to complete more tasks throughout the day. So if you wake up and you make your bed, that is already a small milestone. It's already a small accomplishment that's already done for the day, and you did it within 5 seconds of being awake. Your body, your mind is going to recognize these things. It's going to really set you in motion towards just getting things knocked out for the day.
And it's funny too, because for those that are very into video games, and people relate that addiction to video games with that sense of achievement, that sense of accomplishment. You do little things in a video game, you get rewarded, right? That's going to do the same thing for your real life.
Yeah, I mean, why do you think it's there in video games? Why do you think you get an achievement for every little thing you do? Because it keeps you playing. It keeps you motivated to play.
And you know what? That just made me think of something. It's just simple enough as just changing your mindset at the beginning of the day. Because if you start noticing, it could just already be your daily routine. Getting up and go to the bathroom, right? First thing in the morning. You had time to go piss. Achievement. Ding! You know, like the little things. You were able to walk to the bathroom. You were able to drive to work or take the bus, whatever your means of transportation is.
You have a job right now during COVID. Holy crap.
You woke up.
Yeah. There's
Just
so many things to be grateful
instead
for.
of going about the day just nonchalant and just like a zombie, like, okay, this is the next thing I got to do. You did something before that.
Yeah.
Which means you achieved that goal of whatever it was you were doing. You needed to get out of the car. You got out of the car. Bing.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just simple as changing your mindset, not even just making these goals, but that's going to help you get into that mindset of feeling better about the goals you do make for yourself.
Yeah. And that's why being grateful is so important, because if you're constantly, like you said, being that zombie again through the day, just, oh, I'm going to go to work and make my paycheck. And so that way I can live my life and do what I want to do. And I'm going to just destroy 40 hours of my week every single week for 35 years of my life. So that way I can do what I want to do. You're wasting so much opportunity, so much time, you know, and it applies like when you're in that mindset and you just think if the whole world's going to be against you, then what's the point of ever trying to accomplish anything?
Yeah.
One man versus the world, you're not going to win. So why are you going to think that way? Why are you going to put yourself down? And the same thing applies if you're not in the right headspace with yourself and you're not happy with yourself for any reason, right? Like say your goal is to lose 100 pounds, okay? But you're in the wrong mind space, okay? So you're coming into the New Year's resolution. I'm going to run all this miles. I'm going to lose 100 pounds this year.
Yeah.
And you're 400 pounds. You're, diabetic. You got all these problems, right? You're this big person. And you're...
Yeah, and your reasoning behind it is like, oh, I'm just a lazy piece of garbage. You're not going to do it.
No, you're not.
You got to be positive about it. That's the whole thing we have with working out and actually getting those plans done is you need to reinforce it with a positive mental attitude.
Yeah, because if you don't love yourself like that, the first time you slip up, you're going to be like, oh, I proved myself right. I'm lazy, I'm fat, I'm whatever it is, right? I didn't run. I'm too lazy to do this. Oh, I knew I couldn't do this. But for what reason? Because you missed one day? I would rather see you run those 299 miles because you missed a day instead of just, oh, I only ran 50 because after the first 2 months I missed a day and I said, oh, yep, I was right. It's not for me. Long-term picture, man. Put it in your head. So, I mean, we've had such a great conversation with this, and as you guys can tell, we're fired up for you guys, man. We're excited. Get out there, set those resolutions, make those goals for yourself. We're talking about, having that positive attitude, that confidence in yourself, being in the right mind space, all these things that are so important towards accomplishing these goals. But I'm coming back full circle real quick for you guys. Remember to write them down vividly, accurately. look up some techniques. They're out there. You can look at some pyramid writing techniques. Search that up if you'd like. There's all kinds of ways to form these milestones in a creative way that's going to stick in your brain, and it's going to also be a really great visual tool for you to really get the retention on your ultimate goal and every step along the way to achieve it.
I love that, man. And it's just so important that you guys really take that home, really understand the importance of writing things down, but also really understand the importance of actually doing the things that you're writing down. Why wait for New Year's to hit? Why wait for anything other than waiting for yourself to tie your shoes? It's as simple as that. Just tie your shoes, get out of the house, do the things that you're planning to achieve for yourself. You're going to feel 10,000 times better knowing that you can actually do it, to know that it's possible. And you know what I was just thinking? 2 very simple things that they can do right now in this very moment.
Hit me with them, man. What are the 2 things?
You can like this video and you can subscribe to our page, and we would be very grateful for you to do that.
Yeah, man, what a simple New Year's resolution. That one you don't even have to write down, because we'll just make sure you get a notification when you hit that bell icon after you subscribe. You get to watch us and get that motivation you need to get moving this year.
You can see the progress that we're going to be making with our goals that we have for this podcast to better ourselves and the audience. You're going to see the set change. You're going to see the content get better.
I would say we go big or go home, but considering we're recording this in my home, we only got one way to go, and that's going big.
So remember to follow us on our socials. The links to all of that is going to be down below.
Yeah, man, you got us on Facebook, you got us on Instagram, you got us on Parler. All those links are down below. Real simple.
And until Wednesday, when we bring out our bonus episode, our monthly catch-up for you guys, go on and get.